Nearly 2 million Muslims undertake the journey to Mecca annually, and this year, more than 1,000 people have so far reportedly died.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're examining accidents, natural disasters, wars, and other devastating events that cause the most catastrophic loss throughout 2024 across the world.
Russia, in this specific attack, launched 93 missiles and almost 200 drones.
The Spanish floods.
In Spain, more than 155 people have died from devastating flash floods in the eastern and southern parts of the country. Torrential rains fueled what Spanish officials say was the worst natural disaster in the country's modern history.
On October 29, 2024, a cold drop caused a single day to provide a year's worth of rain, primarily throughout eastern and southeastern Spain. Areas like Andalusia, Castilla de la Mancha, and Valencian Community, especially the city of Valencia, were affected as flash flooding swept through, causing ravines and rivers to overflow.
We're here in the suburb of Revel, which is in the city of Algemesí, and I just want to show you this street. I mean, the situation here speaks for itself.
The devastation didn't officially end until November 16th. During that time, over 200 people lost their lives, with 4 still missing. The impact also left behind an estimated $3.8 billion in damages to property, vehicles, and infrastructure. The Valencia citizens were angered at the lack of response and warning from the government and the Spanish royal family, leading them to protest by throwing mud at them in anger.
Chants of murderer, murderer greet this official tour of devastated Playa Porta.
The Mozambique boat disaster.
Tragedy off the coast of Mozambique. A tidal wave capsizing a barge, killing dozens of people, some missing.
On April 7, 2024, Zico, the former fishing boat converted into a ferry, left Lunga in mainland Mozambique to travel to the island of Mozambique. Most of the up to 150 passengers on the vessel were attempting to escape a cholera outbreak that had been spreading through the country since October 2023. However, shortly into the trip, the Zico sank.
A converted fishing boat, it was not licensed to carry passengers, according to local officials.
Over 100 people lost their lives, with over 20 people still missing. Only 12 survived the disaster. As for the cause of the tragedy, it's unclear. Some reports stated the Zico was overcrowded, while others claimed the ferry took on water or believed a tidal wave was responsible.
They were running away from the cholera outbreak. They got into the boat, the sea was rough, but the boat capsized and it killed a lot of people.
Voepass Flight 2283.
61 people dead after their passenger plane plummeted from the sky in Brazil.
On August 9, 2024, 58 passengers and 4 crew were aboard the Voepass Flight 2283. It was a domestic trip in Brazil taking off from Cascavel Airport and was meant to arrive at Sao Paulo Guarulhos International Airport. However, it never reached its destination.
Brazil's president interrupted a naval event to share the heartbreaking news.
The aircraft crashed in a gated community in Vinhedo. While no one on the ground was injured, there were no survivors from the flight, making this the country's deadliest plane crash since 2007. An investigation by Brazil's Aeronautical Accidents Investigation and Prevention Center into the cause found that the pilots struggled to deal with ice buildup on the aircraft as the de-icing system failed, which caused it to go into a flat spin and crash.
There's something catastrophic that appears to have happened on that airplane that caused the pilots to lose all control.
The Crocus City Hall attack.
Breaking news out of Russia. State media there reports a group of at least 3 armed men opened fire inside a concert hall in the Moscow region.
On March 22, 2024, the sold-out 7,300 capacity Crocus City Hall in Krasnogorsk, Moscow Oblast, Russia, was set to host a performance by the rock band Picnic. However, they never made it to the stage. Shortly before their performance, a group of extremists broke into the venue and attacked the crowd.
This was definitely a very difficult and an event for the people who were in there that must have been extremely traumatizing as well. You hear gunshots that are ringing out on some of these videos.
Using sharp weapons, firearms, and incendiary devices, the assailants affiliated with the extremist group, the Islamic State, took the lives of over 100 people and injured more than 500. 4 suspects were arrested, all of whom pleaded guilty to charges. In the aftermath, immigrants within Russia reportedly experienced a rise in attacks from citizens, as well as increased scrutiny by police forces.
Yeah, multiple Russian officials, Kira, are calling this a terrorist attack now. It just looks at this stage like one of the worst terror attacks in the last few years in the entire of Russia.
The Varzakhan helicopter crash.
These are the images rocking the Middle East this morning. The charred remains of a helicopter, its tail partially intact.
On May 19, 2024, 5 members of the Iranian government, including President Ebrahim Raisi and Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdullahian, got onto a helicopter from the Gizgalasi Dam to Tabriz. The group had been meeting with the president of Azerbaijan, Ilham Aliyev. However, while it was over Varzakhan County, the aircraft crashed, causing the passengers and 3 crew to lose their lives.
I've just spoken to the intelligence authorities. At this point, there is no evidence of foul play. It looks like an accident.
During the investigation, it was deemed heavy fog was responsible. On June 10th, another nation lost several government officials in an aircraft disaster, with passengers including Vice President of Malawi, Saulos Chilima, and former First Lady Patricia Shanil Maluzi. Poor weather conditions caused the plane to crash before it could reach Mzuzu Airport in Malawi, taking the lives of all on board.
The search and rescue team has found the aircraft near a hill in the Chikangawa forest, and they have found it completely destroyed.
The Noto earthquake.
The Japanese government is stepping up the emergency response to Monday's earthquake, which is now known to have killed 62 people.
On January 1st, 2024, while most were celebrating the new year, the Noto Peninsula of Ishikawa Prefecture, Japan, was struck with an earthquake calculated to be a 7.6 magnitude by the country's meteorological agency. This sparked a series of tsunamis to hit the surrounding area, devastating communities.
Rescue workers stream through Japan's isolated Noto Peninsula, the roads blocking their way. They're trying to reach these worst affected areas in the north, where people are trapped under their collapsed homes.
With an estimated $17.6 billion in damages, almost 500 people perished from the natural disaster, with 2 missing and over 1,000 injured. On January 2nd, Haneda Airport in Tokyo, Japan, was the site of a runway collision between a passenger jet and a Coast Guard plane set to take supplies to the areas affected by the earthquake. While the Airbus escaped any fatalities, 5 aboard the relief aircraft perished, leaving only 1 survivor.
It looks as though they were asked to stop short of the runway at a holding point, and that did not happen for some reason. The chances are that it may have happened very quickly, the whole incident, and the controller didn't spot that the aircraft was on the runway.
The Hajj extreme heat disaster.
Authorities now fear that more than 1,000 people have died due to the extreme heat at this year's Hajj pilgrimage in Saudi Arabia.
From June 14th, 2024 to the 19th, around 1.8 million people from across the world took part in the Hajj, an annual Islamic pilgrimage to Mecca, Saudi Arabia. However, extreme heat wreaked havoc in the area, going up as high as 125.2 Fahrenheit. On the 16th alone, dehydration and heat stroke affected upwards of 2,764 people.
Saudi officials say temperatures have been soaring near 49 degrees Celsius, adding that in addition to the deaths, nearly 3,000 people have reportedly been struck by heat stroke.
During the whole of Hajj, over 1,000 people lost their lives to the heat or factors related to it. Participants from Egypt and Indonesia were the most affected, with hundreds of fatalities. Due to the catastrophe, Tunisia fired its Minister of Religious Affairs, while Egypt began legal proceedings against travel agencies that were deemed fraudulent.
There was water on hand, large sprinklers, and some air-conditioned areas for the more than 1.8 million pilgrims. But it was more than 50 degrees in the shade, and the scorching temperature took a terrible toll.
The Bangladesh quota reform movement.
Bangladesh remains tense, with some students having vowed to continue protests a day after the Supreme Court scrapped most of the government job quotas they were demonstrating against.
In 2018, the quota system of Bangladesh civil service was abolished. Previously, a percentage of civil jobs had to be offered to different groups in the country, including minorities and descendants of freedom fighters. In June 2024, the country's High Court reinstated the quota. This sparked a series of protests against the government, mostly by university students, from June 6th to August 3rd. During that time, the quota was scrapped. However, the protests often turned violent, leading to over 11,000 arrests.
3 of my friends are dead. See, there are blood stains on my hand. Why are my hands colored with the blood of my brothers?
According to the country's Ministry of Health, over 19,000 were injured, with more than 600 deaths, with some reports going as high as over 1,500. Following the movement, Bangladesh's Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina resigned.
Thousands had defied the curfew to march on Hasina's residence. Now, reports say she's fled the country after she was seen boarding a military helicopter with her sister on Monday afternoon.
The Russia-Ukraine war continues.
Ukraine is in desperate need of assistance from the outside world, from the United States in particular. And so it is our hope in these recommendations that President Trump will maintain, if not even increase, military assistance to Ukraine.
After the war officially began in 2014, the event went to another level in February 2022, when Russia launched an invasion of Ukraine. Since then, at the time of making the video, the war has no end in sight. As for people who had been injured or lost their lives, reports vary widely. In October 2024, since the invasion began, the United Nations stated over 12,000 citizens had been killed in the conflict, with over 26,000 injured.
All right, we begin this hour with a massive Russian strike over Ukraine, targeting the country's energy facilities. President Volodymyr Zelensky described it as one of the heaviest bombardments since the Russian invasion almost 3 years ago.
In December 2024, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky claimed that since February 2022, 43,000 Ukrainian soldiers had been killed, with 370,000 suffering injuries. He also added that Russia had lost 198,000 soldiers and had 550,000 injured.
The research also suggests many of the casualties are now older fighters with little or no training. Significant numbers have also been recruited from prisons.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into Settings and switch on your notifications. The Israel-Hamas war continues.
That had a smell. I'm smelling it right now. Behind me is a bombing happened last night.
After years of battles and tension, on October 7, 2023, the Palestinian political group Hamas launched an attack against Israel. From there, war began as Israel laid siege to Gaza, causing the country to be accused of war crimes. To date, this war too has no end in sight, and the casualties reported also vary.
Israel's Rehabilitation Authority estimates that a further 12,500 soldiers will be disabled this year, a much higher number than previously estimated.
According to OCHA, the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, in December 2024, 90% of Gaza's population, around 1.9 million, had been internally displaced. Over 44,500 Palestinians have lost their lives, with over 10,000 missing, while Israel has suffered over 1,200 fatalities. The war has also sparked a rise in hate crimes, as Islamophobia and anti-Semitism cases around the world have soared.
London are on high alert following a significant increase in hate crime since the start of the Middle East war. Anti-Semitic offences have jumped more than 1,300% this month compared with this time last year.
Which events from 2024 will stick with you? Let us know below.
In the evening, away from royalty and the heads of government, people expressed their anger with a traditional cacerolazzo, a demonstration of banging pots and pans.